Hello and welcome to the episode 2 of the Barely Floating podcast, where we'll be taking you behind the scenes in making of this awesome adventure game. My name is Ari and I'm joined again here with
Aki.
Yeah. So last time we talked about the pre-production of the game, kind of how it all came together and who were involved with the project.
Yeah, feels like it was weeks ago.
Yeah, it sure does. This time we're going to go deeper into the technical aspects, like scripting and making the game code actually work and whatever went into that. So why don't you tell us what was the first step in the actual production?
Well, while we were designing, I think I found out about the AGS Lua plugin earlier, but this was the first time I'd decided to try it, and so most of the time when we weren't talking about the game design, I was trying to script a framework for the game in Lua.
What does a framework mean for all us dumb listeners out there?
It's all the stuff that you need to build a game.
And Lua is a type of scripting language, if I'm not...
Yes, and the advantages of that over the AGS script is it's dynamic. You don't need to compile it, and you can, reload stuff on the go. So you can make a change in a script and then just reload it in the game without restarting the game.
Yeah,
that
nice.
Really makes the development a lot easier.
Nice. So you were talking about the framework.
The framework consisted mainly of, writing wrappers for the stuff in AGS and adding little useful stuff into it. For example, I wanted the characters to have facial expressions or some sort of facial expression. It's not very...
So they can, express emotions.
Yeah. And it's not very advanced, but it's something. At least their eyebrows move, and that's mostly it. But
does it mean technically that, like in the I think old Nintendo games, the characters are actually made of different pieces? Like head is one piece, and hands are different pieces, or?
Yes, and in AGS it's a bit clumsy, but we needed to make 3 characters for one character. So one of those characters would be the character's head, which we could change to a different graphic, so he would have some sort of facial expressions. Yeah. And the other one would be his arm or arms, so he could wave his hands while he was talking. And the third one was the rest of his body. And
like feet and body, the chest and whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the Lua wrapper, we just, or the framework, we just hid that detail of how it actually works and just made it simple for the scripters to change the expressions and stuff without actually knowing what's going on behind the scenes.
Nice. So that was, all done with that was the power of the framework.
Well, yes, partly. You could do that in AGS, but it's just much more flexible in Lua. And also, one very interesting thing we could do with Lua was create a sort of a thread class object.
What does that mean?
Well, in computing, threads are pieces of program that run seemingly simultaneously. So they run concurrently. So while the other one is running, the other one is as well.
Okay.
So that enabled us to, script some more advanced background actions in the game.
So there would be, stuff happening simultaneously, not, one after each other.
Yes, and it was just much easier to create those than in plain AGS script, because it really doesn't have any support for threading or something like that.
Cool. So what happened after the Lua framework were implemented?
Well, by then we had the game rooms, the environment where you could move around in the game, and some temporary characters in there, but nothing really did anything. So next step was trying to implement all the puzzles in the game, and that would be the alpha version of the game, which would be then playable to the end, but there would be a lot of stuff missing, including all the graphics and most of the dialogue.
I actually took part in the alpha testing phase, and it was really, may I say, interesting to play the first version of the game, because it looked different than it looks today. It was really, really weird.
Yeah, there were only sketches for the backgrounds. And
yeah.
Every character looked the same.
And I remember, I think it was one of the first puzzles. There wasn't anything happening in the screen, but Aki actually told me, because he was, standing next to me and, taking notes. He kind of explained, now this and this happens, and there wasn't anything happening in the screen. So
yes,
it was kind of funny.
Yes, and this was the play testing we mentioned in the previous podcast.
Yeah. We were also talking about the 720p resolution. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, actually we were initially making the game in 640 by 400 resolution, but then I stumbled onto this custom resolution version of AGS and decided to try it out, because I was really interested in or I wanted to make the game in 720p.
Yeah. So, if I understand correctly, it is because AGS is open source nowadays.
Yes.
So it was some guy modified the original code, so you would support 720.
Yes. It's one of the folk at Sky Goblin who did the Journey Down.
Shout out
game.
to Sky Goblin.
Yeah. Which they are selling now, so
go buy it. So 720p decision was just you wanted to make it in 720.
Yeah. I started making the character animations and stuff in the smaller resolution, and it just looked crap. Much of the detail got lost, and the facial expressions were supposed to be an important part of the game, and it was just a mess of pixels. Small eyebrows and 10 pixels each.
Yeah.
So I just decided to try if it would work.
Yeah. So now we have game with empty rooms and temp characters, and it is now in the alpha stage. What happens to get the game to the beta stage?
Well, after we finished the play testing, we went back to the design documents and fixed the things we had found in the testing, mostly the karaoke puzzle and some other issues with the pacing, and also there were some issues where you actually were in a position to solve a puzzle before knowing what it was for. So we added a short cutscene in there where the player character was moved to a different part of the ship where these other puzzles were set up.
Yeah.
Then you were able to solve them after you'd known what it was all about.
Also, I understand that to get the game to the beta version or beta stage, you also have to actually implement everything that the game will be kind of having in the final stage. Am I right? Like dialogue, graphics.
Well, when we'd finished the alpha version in mid-April, I tried to get the other designer Joni and the scripter Tommi to start designing the dialogues, but it just wasn't going anywhere, and I was busy with other stuff, fixing the game, and I think did I work on the graphics? I don't know, but it just wasn't going anywhere, and then the team started dissolving, and it was a pretty big hit for the motivation.
I can imagine, yeah.
And there was just so much to make, especially on the graphical side of things, and we were approaching the end of May, which was supposed to be the deadline of the summer batch.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a very dark time.
Yeah. How did you just fight through the dark times, or how did you manage to get through it?
Well, I just try to work at least 6 hours a day, every day, and mostly I managed to do that. So the game was moving forward, but it just wasn't going that fast. But then Joni, the co-designer Joni, got started on the dialogue and wrote plenty of good stuff in Finnish, which I then in June started translating into English and putting them in the game. But the end of May deadline was very unrealistic.
Yeah.
And the summer batch was delayed to early July, I think.
Yeah. I think I need to go back to the team dissolving thing. That's I think every game designing team that makes games without any funding or any kind of money involved. I think everybody has to face that, because it's sad, but that's how it goes in the
yeah, people have other stuff to do and
real work.
or some sort of a personal life or whatever that is,
or school or something.
Yeah,
but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's sad, but it was somewhat expected, so I was ready for it, but it was still a terrible thing to happen.
Yeah, it is. Anywho, you were in early June, and the summer batch was delayed. What happened then?
Then you joined and helped make the background graphics.
Ah, right, I did.
Which was a huge load off my back. I'd made all the backgrounds, very simply to that point, so there were basically just line art for the different things in the room.
One thing, when we actually posted some screenshots from the game to the AGS forum, somebody said something about the perspective used in the game. Wasn't that actually part of the rocking motion the bot was supposed to make?
Yes. When there's no real perspective in the image, things getting smaller in the distance, you can move objects around more freely.
Yeah.
And we had some objects that needed to roll around the floor or slide or something like that, so it was just a lot easier to make them without any perspective.
Yeah. Most of the background art was of course made in Photoshop. What did you use to make the characters?
I drew the characters in Adobe Illustrator. Yes, and I hacked them into pieces, so I'd export a image that had the arms and legs and head and eyebrows and stuff all separate, and then I imported those into Adobe After Effects, where I animated them and just put the pieces together and linked them together into some sort of a crude form of bone animation. But it ended up looking quite nice.
Yeah, I think it looks really nice. What was your favorite character to make and animate?
To animate, I think it has to be the old man, because he had many different things, but also the agent character, because he had some pretty big animations as well, and supposed to be funny animations.
Yeah. I really like the info guy because he has the eye patch. That was just it was just really weird and funny.
Yeah, the void behind the eye patch.
Yeah.
And the most fun character design, well, the initial design was Joni's, but it was the painter character who had huge eyebrows and a matching mustache
and chest hair.
Yeah. And some sort of a Spanish bullfighter's outfit, and it was just a mess.
Mustache hair.
But it looked wonderful.
Yeah, it did. So the graphics were coming along. We were making the music, which was I think coming along quite nicely, and the beta stage was coming up.
I actually started crunch mode in the early, June 12th, which meant pretty much non-stop work with some hours for catching your breath and trying to get some sleep.
Yeah.
And that went on until June 20th, when we finished our first beta version. And there was still a lot of smaller things missing, the end sequences and some animations and stuff, but it was playable to the end, and so we managed to hit that deadline for the summer batch and got the beta to the testers, but nobody tested it. So what the hell?
Yeah. That was really a bummer. I actually got a bit mad about it because I asked few of my friends to actually beta test it too, because there weren't anybody testing the game.
Yeah.
And there were no results coming from anyone. I don't know, is it because it's summertime here, or people aren't at home playing games or something, but it was really
bad time.
Yeah, it was.
And everyone on the summer batch forums, well, they were working on their own games, so they didn't have time to test ours.
Yeah. But we actually made it. The game was done in time.
Yeah, we had 1 weekend of a break after the first beta, and then we tried to finish the final stuff for the game, and we managed to get it done by the 5th of July. So that was the deadline for the postponed deadline for summer batch, and it was supposed to be finished by then, but of course we hadn't had time to test it.
And then of course we threw in some sound effects and polishing touches.
Yeah, and the deadline was again postponed to later July, and
eventually to this month.
Yeah, but we finished it for the previous deadline.
Yeah, we did.
It's been done now for I don't know how long.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that's about wraps it up for episode 2. We went from the alpha stages of the game to the beta stage. Dark times were somewhere in the middle. We talked about the Lua framework and bunch of technical stuff. And in episode 3 we will be talking about soundtrack and what's coming up in the future from Stem Shock Interactive, I think.
And probably some graphical stuff.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. Anyway, follow us on Facebook and Twitter and whatever, and send us some email in stemstock@gmail.com. See you later, folks.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.